Hello, my name is Daniel Yuck. Thank you for watching today. I appreciate you, your time, and your support. In today's video, I want to share with you how to go about cleaning up tattoo stencils when they print like this from our thermal printers. Should you have any questions at all, I encourage you to drop a comment down below. I'll do my absolute best to assist you in the best possible direction. Please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and ring that bell for me, as I will be bringing more videos like this for you all. I do also have social medias under the same name as my YouTube. I have Facebook, Instagram, X, and TikTok, all under Daniel Yuck. I would appreciate the support over there as well. With that being said, let's get right on into this. I figured this would be a good video so that way we can save resources. I know when I first started, a lot of my stencils would print like this and I never really knew why, and I kind of still don't, but I do know how to fix this issue. Now, it is hit or miss. This can happen with a thermal printer. Even if your printer prints perfectly all the time, this could still tend to happen. So I would rather have this information and not need to use it than to need to use it and not have it. I'm also going to be listing my Amazon affiliate links and other affiliate links for you to the gear featured in this video, so that way you can check it out on your end. Let's start here. So we can see some obvious distortion with this design. For example, if I were to place this down, you can see that I'm not capturing any detail here. I can't see what's going on. You can see that this is another version of the design, but just blown a little bit more up. And you can see that we get more detail here. So obviously this isn't something that I would want, I guess for me at least, I wouldn't want to work with this. I want my designs to be as cleanly printed as I can possibly get them. Here's the thing, this is where things get interesting. Let's say if I flip the stencil paper over, it's the same one, you can see I just flipped it over. If you see here, we have a perfect print. So something is not really making sense to me. And again, it took me a really good while to figure out this little hack here. I was very, wasteful at the beginning. I really thought that something was wrong. I kind of got frustrated and would scrap the paper and throw it away. So if you're a beginner and you're experiencing this, I don't feel like you need to throw the stencil paper away. This may work for you. But take notice here that we do have perfectly clean stencils. If the stencil was like this on the other side, I would be able to apply this tattoo 110% with no questions, as it is a fun style and it's within my style range. When we flip it over, we can see that we don't have that same print. Here is the trick. Now again, I don't necessarily know why printers may do this. This is typically with thermal printers. So if your thermal is doing this, what you're gonna wanna do is grab some tape. So for this demonstration, I'm gonna be using some Scotch tape, but I'm sure like medical tape would work. You're gonna want something with a light adhesive on the back of it, and tape is probably the best thing for that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to find the spot that I want to clean up, and then I'm just simply going to get the tape and place it in those areas, and then you're going to watch what happens here. So I'm going to grab this tape and I'm going to place it down right here, and it's going to essentially pull up all of the details and excess print. As you can see, that got printed. This is what we don't want. But now we have a much more workable area. Although it didn't pull up the design because the design was burned into the paper, it only pulled up the excess here. That right there is essentially the hack. I'm gonna repeat this all throughout. You really wanna be careful. You don't want to, put too much down. You don't wanna do it in multiple places. I kind of do one film, and if it's a lot, like you can see this area was quite a bit. So let me place that down. I shouldn't have felt like that. That was my bad. And then from here, I'm just simply going to take it off, and you're gonna notice that these areas right here will be lifted up, like so. Just wanna be patient with the process so that way we don't damage the stencil. But you can see that it took it off cleanly, and I have a much more workable design. As I've mentioned, this process is going to get repeated until the entire stencil is to my liking. I'm going to go ahead, I made a little ring with this here to see if we can kind of find different ways to do this here. And you can see as I lightly tap, it is in fact cleaning up these areas. And then I'm just going to kind of turn it to a new area and then repeat that. I don't want to press down too hard because I don't want it to stick and I don't want to tear the paper. Hopefully I'm still in frame there, and I am. For me, since my designs are line dominant, I feel like it's super important to have a clean stencil that's easy to work with. And I feel like going the extra mile like this really does make for a better experience, because you really can't predict when the thermal printers are going to do this. So I would rather have this solution and kind of just take it this way as opposed to just printing and printing and printing, kind of hoping that it's going to be a clean print. Now you also want to try to clean your thermal if you are experiencing this back to back to back. Try to clean the rolling pin and then see what results you get from there. This is going to go all the way around.
You can kind of see the areas that are a little distorted that need to be cleaned up. It's not too hard to spot those.
And then you can see it is a real patient, or it is a process that we should be patient with here, I feel, so that way we prevent damage and make sure that we clean it up as much as possible. Again, me personally, I would rather go this route, and I'm really overdoing it here for the demonstration to show you how clean we can get it from a before and after. You can see this is 110% workable. We just have a little bit more here that needs to be cleaned up. It's really going to be to each their own. I'm sure a lot of us may see this as an inconvenience, in which it kind of is. Like, we would want our printers to print perfect each and every time. You know, in a perfect world, it would work that way. But when problems arise, I feel like it's always cool to be able to handle them with grace along the way and know exactly what to do to prevent like any sort of panic or anything like that. Thermal printers can be unpredictable, especially with their prints, which is kind of one of their downsides, or they can be really reliable. Everyone's going to have a varying experience there. But you can see this now is completely cleaned up. And I am ready to place this design down and begin tattooing it all the way through. Just some final areas. And everything that was printed, that was supposed to be printed, now remains. That is it. And that's the hack right there. There's not really much to it. It's just patience. And you don't want to press down too hard. The harder you press, the more it's going to bind to the paper. If you pull it off, then you run the risk of ruining the stencil and tearing the paper, which means we're definitely going to have to start from ground up. Let's get some close-up shots of cleaning this bigger design right here, so that way you can kind of see my approach here. I find that this probably is a better technique for me, just kind of using it like this, pinching it, and then dabbing it down along the way. So you can see it's pulling up all the excess that I'm not wanting on this design. And you kind of just press down in the areas that are distorted until you don't need to anymore. It's really straightforward here. It's kind of satisfying to watch though, as it gets cleaned up. You can see that's a good sign. When you start seeing that, that means you are cleaning off the excess distortion that would have otherwise rendered this design useless. And this can be very discouraging too, especially if we're just starting and this sort of stuff is happening to us. This is the stuff that would make people not want to tattoo anymore, especially if they're having problems with their thermal printer. Just keep in mind that aspect. Thermal printers are prone to not printing perfect. So this is basically how you would go about doing that. You can even get like a medical tape and use that, use this for that. Kind of, you know, a little bit more, I guess, sterile, so to speak. If you can find sterile adhesive, that's awesome. I think that's a good way to go too. I'm not sure if that's a thing though. Medical tape is good. I've used medical tape for this as well. Medical tape works just fine. Scotch tape works just fine as well. It's important to repeat as needed. Everyone's going to experience different amounts of distortion per print. So I feel like kind of do it to the point where your stencil is good, and then you can kind of begin placing it down. And they do place the same. There's no distortion or anything like that. They would have pressed down as if this printed perfect from the jump. So we don't have any sort of distortion or any of that going on the placement. I would rather show you the real-time process here so you can see that it really does require a bit of patience and time to really get the most out of the stencil. And I'm doing this as best I can to not cause any damage to the stencil. The whole point is to not have to reprint if it's not necessary, and also more importantly to be able to handle these sort of prints when they arise, should they arise, if our printer decides to do this to us. I think that second one's more important. But you can see though that this design is pretty much there. I don't really see any other areas that I need to go over that look distorted. Everything is readable. Everything is reading nice, and it looks as though I'm going to be able to apply this cleanly here, as you can see, and that is the larger side. Let me go back to the top view so we can take a look at them now. Here we are at a top view, and you can see from where we started till now, we have a design that is 110% workable now. This design will be featured on my Patreon in a 4K step-by-step follow along. I will be linking my Patreon in the description down below, but you can see that now I am able to apply this design. It is going to apply like a normal design would. If you're just starting out, or if you're experiencing this at all, this is how you can go about correcting and resolving this issue. This is far more better, I feel, to be able to kind of resolve this every time it happens, as opposed to throw it away and hope that the thermal printer prints correctly. Chances, if our thermal printers are doing this, and it's probably going to do this in a repetitive manner, so therefore we want to be ready for it. We don't necessarily need to get discouraged or throw the paper away. We can just simply treat it like so. The only thing that you have to worry about is being a little bit too rough, where you place the tape down too much, it binds to the paper, and when you pull up, it tears it. That's ultimately the worst case scenario, in which you will be starting from ground up, having to print all over again. If your thermal printer distorts, then you're going to be right back here where you started, basically trying to undistort your design. So it's better to have this information and not need it than to need it and not have it. Should you have any questions at all, I encourage you to drop a comment down below, and I'm going to do my best to assist you in the best possible direction. We are now complete. I felt like it was better to keep it all real time, so that way you can see the process and see that it really does take a little bit of time. Depending on the size of the design will determine the ultimate process. The only thing that we really need to be careful with is when we are undistorting the design, you want to make sure that the tape doesn't really bind to the paper, in which when we pull up, we're accidentally going to tear it. In that case, we're going to have to start all the way from the ground up, reprint. If it distorts, we're going to be doing that anyway. So you want to take your time with the process and be gentle with it to get the best results. You can see both of them are 110% workable. These will be featured on my Patreon in a step-by-step follow-along manner. So if you're interested in doing this tattoo with me, head on over to my Patreon, in which I will link you down below. This is a great place to conclude this video. I'm going to go ahead and do a little side-by-side comparison from where we started to what we are working with now, so that way you can see the results. Should you have any questions at all, I'm going to encourage you to drop a comment down below. I'm going to do my best to assist you in the best possible direction. Once again, please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and ring that bell for me, as I will be bringing more videos like this for you all. I do also have social medias under the same name as my YouTube. I have Facebook, Instagram, X, and TikTok. I would appreciate the support over there as well. With that being said, I appreciate your time and I thank you for watching. Have a great day.